Have you ever found yourself completely immersed in a mobile game, losing track of time and forgetting everything else around you? Did you ever wonder about why that happens? That's where the concept of player engagement comes in. Player engagement is a term that game designers use to track this mysterious quality of immersion in a game. But how do we come to measure, to know, and to put into practice player engagement? In order to evaluate the engagement level of a game, there are some existing analytical frameworks. Brigitte Costello's pleasure framework and Csikszentmihalyi's flow model. The pleasure framework identifies certain types of pleasure that players may experience during engaged plays. But here in Gacha games, there are 5 common categories used. One of these is competition, the pleasure that players derive from succeeding in completing a goal. Another is captivation, the immersive experience that players feel while playing a game. Simulation is the pleasure that players derive from experiencing something from rarity in a game. And finally, fantasy refers to the pleasure that players derive from using their imagination while playing a game. The flow model, on the other hand, characterizes the psychological state of flow that arises when individuals are completely absorbed in an activity and feeling a sense of satisfaction and pleasure. With these factors, we can begin to make a systemic analysis of a game. Let's give it a go with a mobile gacha game. A gacha game is generally played on mobile devices, where players purchase virtual items such as skins, characters, weapons, and decorations using in-game currency. Players can only get random items with levels of rarity. We are going to evaluate the engagement of a mobile gacha game through these frameworks. With a twist, the evaluation will be done through practice. A compelling area of ongoing study of gacha games is their contextualized visual design. Contextualized visual design entails using visual elements in a game that are specific to its context, narrative, and gameplay. I have created a mobile gacha game called Meow Forest. Meow Forest is a student project. It is a single-player card game that investigates how to make the act of picking cards more interesting. I used the development of this game to answer contextual design questions related to pleasure and flow. I then made an additional evaluation of the game through playtesting. Meanwhile, if you have ever played Identity 5 and Omiyoji, you will notice that well-solved contextualized visual design in the gacha system, beautiful backgrounds, narrative-based packagings. This gives us an outstanding guide for generating principles. It is necessary to identify what makes an engaging contextualized visual design. In my design approach to Meow Forest, I examined 6 qualities that I drew from the literature and playtesting as key. Firstly, semantic consistency. When the visual design is consistent with the game's theme and narrative, players feel more in control of their actions and are more likely to become fully engaged in the game. Narrative-based packaging. By packaging the gacha system within the context of the game narrative and theme, players feel more connected to the game world and more invested in their interactions with it. Animations and effects can create a sense of excitement and anticipation, and contribute to the player's sense of personal control or agency over the situation or activity. Transparency and rarity distinction are essential for providing clear and transparent information about obtaining rewards and enhancing players' sense of achievement and expectation. Worldview rationality of the game is also important, as it ensures that players subconsciously feel comfortable with the game world. Finally, design in moderation is crucial. This principle aims to let players focus on the pulling process instead of being distracted by the background. To better understand the success of my contextualized visual design, I carried out 10 qualitative playtests on the game Meow Forest. The playtesting involved one-on-one interviews. As we've discovered, contextualized visual design is crucial when it comes to attracting players and keeping them engaged. We were able to identify 6 key design principles that can improve player engagement. By applying these design principles to future game development, we can improve the overall user experience of gacha games and increase player satisfaction and retention.